Good morning. Welcome to the first Friday call with K-State Research and Extension. We call it the first Friday Entrepreneurship call. And so often we do actual community vitality or community development issues, but this time we're actually going to do something very centered on entrepreneurship. The purpose of these calls is to increase the local community's knowledge about the experts, the education, and the economic resources available to help small businesses and entrepreneurs and the towns that love them. And that was taken from a direct quote from Erik Pedersen maybe 5 years ago about the local community's role in entrepreneurship. And I've been using it ever since, Erik Pedersen. We do encourage partner sharing after the call. So think about what you might want to share. We learn so much from each other. And as always, the call is being recorded, and you'll get a link to the website when it's posted. It's usually posted. It may not be posted today because our website guy is at an off location. But today's speaker, we have two of them, are Erik Pedersen, the President and Chief Operating Officer of Network Kansas, and Bailee Henry, the Manager of E-Community Programs. And they have an exciting announcement about program expansion. And so we will start with Erik.
Nancy, thank you. And as you pull up that slide, you can, or I'll wait till we have the shared. No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate this opportunity. I'm going to, and you can advance one, Nancy. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. I want to take a second, and this is a really exciting opportunity that came onto our plate in the last couple of months. And I think I wanted the chance to share it out with everybody as we've worked to try and get this news out, but it's maybe been a little bit slow. So I want to first explain the players that are kind of, I guess, in this story I'll tell for the next few minutes. So, and I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about the Patterson Family Foundation, but it's a foundation that's located in Kansas City. They're just off the plaza, built around the legacy of Neil and Jean Patterson. Neil was the co-founder of Cerner, also the co-owner of Sporting KC, passed away about 5 years ago. If I'm not mistaken, the roots of their family trace back to the Harper County, Kansas area, I think. And their primary tenets, if you will, or priorities as a foundation are rural, healthcare, and entrepreneurship. And so just let that sit there for just a second. We'll get back to them. I think it'll make sense. So Nancy, please, if you'd advance it. This is a map of our e-communities, our entrepreneurship communities. We started in 2008. We're now up to 66. I have several on the call know exactly what an e-community is. So I'm not gonna bore you, but I think it's important to provide a tiny bit of background just to be relevant with what I'm getting ready to say to hopefully connect the dots. So an e-community, in short, what it is a city or a county that we allocate a portion of our money to, usually the money we've raised through tax credits, but there's other forms of capital that we have. And we allocate our money. It's still ours, but they get complete decision-making control over it to provide loans to businesses in their community, specifically gap financing, and the money has to match with a bank or a public form of capital, revolving loan fund, microloan, something like that, that it has to match with. So I'll just give you an example. Let me just pick one. Reno County. We would say at the beginning of a fiscal year, Reno County, we're going to allocate you $100,000 or $150,000 of our money. You get to decide what businesses you loan it to. No greater than $45,000. That's the max loan any business can get. Well, like I said, it has to be matched with a bank. In exchange for us giving you that money or giving you the access to that money, we'd like you, Reno County, to have a local leadership team. Typically, it's headed by the county ED director. Sometimes it's chamber director, maybe a foundation director, but typically county ED director. We'd like you to have a local leadership team. Sometimes it's the ED board, maybe a visioning committee. Maybe it's a group that's formed just for this purpose. And we want you to meet regularly to discuss the entrepreneurial ecosystem in your community. Set goals, make progress towards those goals, engage resource partners that need to be at the table, bring programming to the community to support your entrepreneurs and small business owners, etc. And we are going to have a coach, a regional manager, a Network Kansas person be an assistant to you, help drive you, help facilitate your conversations, help answer your questions, help be that resource to make your job easier and better. And we currently have 6 of those. We have 5, we will have 6. So for the purpose of this, the upper left or the northwest is a lady named Christy Preston. She lives in Selden. I think that's where that white star's at. The north central is Sarah LaRoche, who lives in Osborne. The northeast is a lady named Jen Laird, who lives in Chase County, also has a second location in the Kansas City area, so that helps her travels a little bit. The south central is a lady named Sierra Tifo, who works, her office is here in Andover with me. The southeast, bottom right, is a lady named Janet Miller, who was the Cherokee County Economic Development Director. We were very fortunate to have her come to work for us a month ago or so, and I'll reference her in a minute. And then we're really excited about the fact that the Southeast region is going to be headed up by somebody that everybody knows, Leanne Seiler, an absolute, another rock star in all of our economic development world. So she'll come to work with us sometime June, July-ish, and couldn't be more excited about that. So I wanted to frame it with Patterson, then e-community. Now let me go to the next slide, please, Nancy. Thank you. So I mentioned that the e-community has access to our money, and that's the kind of the driving factor, the thing we use to bring this whole thing together. These are just some stats over the course of the last 12, 13 years of us doing this. I won't go down all of them. It would bore you. A couple of them are interesting. The law, the statute that gives us the access to do this says our money can't be any greater than 60% of the deal. And what I mean by that is, let's say that Bailee Henry is opening a business in Wabunsee County and needs $50,000 to make that thing happen after she puts her own money in it. Our money can't be any more than 60% of that, 30,000, or 60% of that, which is 30,000 of 50 grand. But for many, many years now, we've been at this number of 18% of the total package that you see. I don't know how we evolved to be that point, but that's where we're at. So of all the money that has gone into, of the $26.2 million, it's gone to 773 businesses. The e-community funds are 18% of the money in it. So $100,000 that Bailee needs, on average, the e-community money is 18 grand. There's $82,000 of bank loans, certified development company, USDA funds, Main Street IWW. You guys all know the rest of the answers. So I wanted to share those stats because I think they're pretty interesting. The growth of this money over time. Some of the population things are fascinating to me, but you can read that and don't need me to. So Nancy, please, if you would. So here's where I'm trying to kind of connect the dots for you and why we're so excited. The Patterson Foundation came to us, came to me a year or so ago, give or take, and said, what would it look like if we provided money to you guys? We really love the mission of Network Kansas. We love the way you're working in a grassroots fashion with all the really smart people across the state of Kansas. We really like the way that you guys give decision-making authority to the communities. Because I should back up. In an e-community, they have complete decision-making control over what businesses they loan it to. When they send it into us and say, we just approved a loan of $30,000 to Bailee Henry, we look at two things. Number one, does it have that required match that the statute dictated? And number two, is Bailee a for-profit business? Because our board put that in place about a dozen years ago. Other than that, it doesn't matter if we think they're absolutely nuts for approving a loan to Bailee. It's their call. Patterson liked that. We like the way you push decision-making to the community level. So they said, what would it look like if we provided capital to you? I said I'd do two things. I'd hire another coach, because this isn't going to shock anybody on this Zoom, but there are a ton of talented economic development directors around this state. And I have found over a dozen years of this e-community that if I can provide them an asset, meaning a really, really good e-community coach, of which we have 5 now and we'll have 6, some of them grasp onto that and begin to use us and our coaches in ways that really are difference making for their community. So I want to provide more coaches so they work with a few less communities and they can work deeper in the communities, more impactful ways. So I said I'd hire one more coach if you let me have the money. And then the rest I would turn into a grant for that, so that every e-community business could get a part of their loan be converted to a grant. They like that idea very much because they don't want their money loaned out. So I didn't have to do any convincing. They wanted it this way. So the way that it now looks, and the grants for calendar year 2022, it took both them and us a month and a half or so to get around to all the press release and stuff. So we really didn't get the money or do anything with it till about two plus months ago. The way it works is every e-community loan that is approved, and don't go forward, Nancy, but the next slide, I'll explain this, everybody. The way we've always done this is when there is an e-community, we give them a scoring rubric that they can use to score each loan in their local community. But they have complete autonomy to change it, customize it, do it, make the decision-making however they want. Part of this was we had to give one uniform rubric. So they'll use this rubric, I'll show you in a minute. They evaluate the loan. If it evaluates in I'll just use a school grade system. If it's an A, 20% of the loan is automatically converted to a grant. So a $45,000 loan would now be a $36,000 loan and a $9,000 grant. If it's scored as a B, 15% converts to a grant. If it's scored as a C, it can still be approved by the e-community, but it's going to be all in the form of the loan. And so the community has the ability to do that. There's 2 primary benefits. There's probably more, but there's only 2 that I listed here. Number one, our money, the money that we utilize for e-communities, gets used up darn near every year. I mean, we allocate $3 million plus to be loaned out by our e-communities, and every year we're running up against a ceiling. They're using everything that we can allocate to them. So doing this allows our money, our e-community money, to go further, have a longer runway. The more important benefit is that those rural Kansas businesses are getting 15-20% of their deal in a grant. And that's just, I mean, I think that's awesome. So through just 2 months, there have been 13, if I'm not mistaken, e-community loans approved. Total, you can read there. And of that, $65,000 plus was converted to grants for the businesses. Now, and 11 different e-communities took part in this. Now, here's what's cool. As soon as we all, and the entire e-community team played a role in writing this big 30+ page application to Patterson. So it was a full team effort. We all probably had this same fear in our minds, to be honest. Would an e-community just kind of mess with the scoring to make sure every deal was a 20% grant for their business? You know, there's a way to get a very easy loophole out of this deal. Not the case at all. There have been 13 deals so far, and I can't remember what it is, but it's like 7 were a score, 6 were a B, and one of them they couldn't decide, so they scored it like a B+, A-, and it's a 17% grant. So they're truly doing everything that the local e-community from day one, I've said this, they are the best stewards of the state's money that exists. And they just continue to prove that stuff over and over. So Nancy, if you'd advance one more, please, and I'll wrap up. This is the rubric, and this is kind of some more just guts, but I think I've said most of this. But you can see the rubric that the e-community uses to score the deal. Many of them use something very similar to this before, just to allow them to decide pass, fail, or approve, deny on the e-community portion of the loan. But now they utilize this standard one just because Patterson requested that. And Nancy, you can go forward one more and I'll wrap up. Many of you on this call are used to the fact that we have become really, really reliant on Tableau dashboards to share our story. And I think Tableau is a fantastic tool. We short digression, there was a gentleman named Ted Crewell who worked with us for several years in the e-community, on the e-community team, who came to me, I don't know, 5 years ago and said, hey, there's this new technology called Tableau. You don't know anything about it. I think I'd like to maybe someday own my own business using it, but I don't have any customers. If you'll pay for me to get trained on it, I will create things for Network Kansas in the best way possible, be honest with you, be transparent with you. And at some point, if I'm getting ready to leave and go out and do this on my own, I'll share with you well in advance. And I paid him to do that training, and he did all those things I just said. And at some point a few years ago, he said, all right, I'm ready to go out on my own. Said, fantastic, we'll be your first customer. And he continues to do these things. And many of you in the e-community world see dashboards from your coaches every month. He's working on creating one for this Patterson so that we can visually tell the story I just rambled about pretty easily. And so hopefully that's something that a lot of you will see before long. So that's the kind of the exciting story behind this Patterson grant. I can tell you that they've been just the absolute joy to work with. If any of you have not engaged with them, I encourage you to. I didn't know they existed before a year and a half ago, and they're great people working to be really relevant in Kansas rural healthcare and entrepreneurship. And the kind of the unspoken agreement that we have is my ask was for $1 million for 2 years. And they said, we've never really dipped our toe in this kind of e-community rural economic development world. That's a deep dive, but we think we like it. How about if we go $500,000 for 1 year? And then let's meet around Thanksgiving and share with us how things are going. And we can discuss year 2, but we'd love this to be an ongoing partnership. So selfishly, I hope this is year 1 of 10 years of doing this, because the value of being able to convert 20% of a gap financing loan to an entrepreneur into a grant in a rural community of Kansas is well, that's what we're about. So I couldn't be more excited about that. So Nancy, let me be quiet and see if anybody has questions, and if not, we can hand it to somebody whose story is a whole lot more exciting than things I get to say.
No, you did a great job. And K-State Research and Extension feels like we have a story to tell, Patterson. So if you get an opportunity to say so, we'd love that too. I've reached out to them. We have a question. Are all of your loans only for for-profit organizations? In this case, are none of them are, this does not apply to the not-for-profits. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Now, the answer is yes. But let me kind of quantify that for a second, for you and the rest. E-community loans, yes, for-profit businesses. And the money that we dedicate for e-community is exactly that. That being said, there are multiple loan funds that we have at Network Kansas, Startup Kansas, the Kansas Community Investment Fund, the Kansas Healthy Food Initiative, and some others, and maybe even more coming down the pike, hopefully before long, that we can talk about. Many of those are for nonprofit businesses. The Kansas Community Investment Fund is seeded by the Kansas Health Foundation, and it is how do I say this? It is for businesses that fit the target that we all would envision the KHF's target being: childcare, daycare things, broadband build out in rural communities, stuff like that. So yes, we have funds for not-for-profit. And the right answer would just be to kind of engage us or engage the local regional coach. I saw a message there about who's the person in charge of Norton. If Sarah LaRoche is on, I can see she's on. You might type into the chat the answer to that while I'm talking, please. But the answer would be just engage with the e-community coach, and we can get you to the right fund here, because yes, we have some for not-for-profits.
Cool. And we have a question that came directly to me. What's the criteria for becoming an e-community?
Good question. It is primarily relationships, and I know that's a soft, fluffy word, but it's really what drives us. So the communities we work with begin to have conversations with one of those 6 coaches I mentioned, and it's built around this general concept, Nancy. We want to provide money to the community for them to loan to their businesses. However, that's the carrot. The real important work is when one of our coaches sits at the table with the community and discusses what we want to accomplish together. Therefore, is there a good, effective leadership team in the community? Mm-hmm. Is there a good, active public-private group that either exists already or can be made to exist, mm-hmm. that is willing to carry the ball on working on strategic planning, accomplishment of goals, bringing programs to the community, engaging youth, et cetera, et cetera. It's like I said, our window to that team is often the county ED person. So the effective person there, the effective team behind them, and the ability to kind of consistently sit at the table and rally the community around things is kind of a general criteria that I would say, Nancy, or to the person that asked it.
Yeah. And just FYI, in Shawnee County, where I live, it was an extension director who saw the opportunity, saw that nobody had taken the lead on that, and she became the spark to it. But I'm positive she would say, and she chose how involved to be in it, and the answer was very involved was her answer. But for somebody else, sometimes it's just the spark to bring somebody together who didn't have the spark without it.
I happened to take a look at the chat, and I saw that Lori Huber, who, man, I miss her in Clay Center. She is such a fantastic lady, and I'm glad to know she's doing well. Talked to her a couple of weeks ago. Lori, yes, we are still adding e-communities. You certainly know what one is. You were a rock star when you headed up Clay counties. This year, we had some applications. We'll pick 3 this year, and then we'll start the process of picking some for next year. So short answer, Lori, too late for this fiscal year. We operate July through June. Too late for this fiscal year, but it's a good time to start the conversation for next year.
Great question. Okay. All right, let's give Bailee Henry the opportunity, not to start a new business, but to do her presentation. And let's see if I can do it correctly. There, I think you should be looking at the full screen of her presentation. And Bailee, take it away.
All right. So my name is Bailee Henry. I am not starting my own business, but I'll take any money if anyone wants to give me any. But I get to talk about YEC today. So I am the product manager for e-community programs here with Network Kansas. And YEC is one of our most popular programs. So I'm really, really excited to share about it with you guys, and hope you guys leave this call excited about entrepreneurship in Kansas and the future in Kansas, because that's what these kids are. So you can go to the next slide, Nancy. This slide's really fun because it's our cover of our resource guide. So YEC is the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge series. It's one of our 6 board certified programs. It's also our only board certified program that deals exclusively with youth. It's probably our most popular as well, largely because of the amazing community partners that we have and the teachers that we work with that are really passionate for the students and the future in Kansas. So you can go to the next slide, Nancy. So what is YEC? So YEC is a culmination of locally organized entrepreneurship competitions that take place all across the state. And then those will all culminate into a state competition that's hosted at Kansas State University in spring. So we just actually had that last week. So we had 61 students from all across Kansas that came in, were actually all on this at the student union. And they were just, these kids blew me away. It's really, really cool to see all of their ideas. And if you tell them the sky's the limit, they end up beyond the moon. They're wonderful. Some of them are entirely conceptual. Some of them are actual businesses that they've been running since they were 12. So these kids are really awesome. So through YEC, students get hands-on experience to learn, kind of explore ideas that they may have. And then they also get prizes. So that's also really fun. So you can go to the next one. So we've created kind of a framework for our e-community partners to host a competition. We kind of share resources, and then they decide if they would like to host a competition. They work with teachers, community partners, economic development personnel to kind of develop a game plan. It's very multifaceted, and there's a lot of planning that goes into it. So it's, you know, people from the school, people from the business community, and, you know, an economic development professional all kind of working together for this goal. So once you decide that you want to have a YEC competition, you do all the planning, work with the teachers, students develop a plan, refine it, and then they host their own competition within their community. And then all of those competitions will then go on to compete at a state championship. So you can go to the next slide. And it's really important for us to have a state championship because it's consistent with some of the other structure of other school events, and it helps provide legitimacy as the students kind of go out through their year, and it's similar to all the other DECA, FBLA, FCCLA, all these other events that they're involved in. So this slide's really fun because it shares some of the ideas that Kansas students have came up with over the 9 years. This is just a small list because, like I said, these students that were at KEC last week were just blew me out of the water. One student had developed a software to use your hand as a mouse. It was a tracking software to control without a mouse, just with your hand movements across the screen. It was, like I said, blow me out of the water. So these are just some of the ideas that students have came up with. Some are real life businesses, and some are completely conceptual. So some are completely conceptual. Some these students created and then sold to get their way through school. There's all different ways of doing this. It's not always an established business. Some are conceptual, these kids are just wonderful. So you can go to the next slide, Nancy. So we can talk about this last season, but we really want to talk about where we started and how we got to where we are. So YEC started in 2013 in Northwest Kansas, a series of 5 competitions over a 10-county area that all culminated into one regional championship. We observed those best practices and tried to find a way to scale it. So we observed that a lot of our e-communities were already doing this. There was a lot of partnerships. It was, is there curriculum? How do we bring this to Southeast Kansas as well, and not just Northwest Kansas? So we developed kind of a framework to do that. So you can go to the next slide. So through, like I said, we just concluded our 9th academic year of YEC. As of now, we've hosted 263 competitions. Well, we haven't. Our partners have hosted 263 locally organized competitions with more than 5,100 students all across the state that have competed in over half the Kansas counties. And this last season, we had 51 local competitions with over 1,000 students participating. I don't know if you can see the bar graph. We started with 48, and we just had over 1,000 students participate this year. And that's, the last 2 years. The state championship was canceled in 2020. Last year it was virtual, and this year we're back with a vengeance, and more people are interested than ever. So you can go to the next slide, Nancy. So I just kind of recapped this past year and some of our growth. We just partnered with the K-State University to host the statewide competition last week. We also host a YEC summit in June for all of our partners, educators to all be in the same room, share best practices, ideas, and everything that they think. And that's how we solve, a lot of brain power in one room is how we solve everything, right? So we provide a standardized format and a sanctioning process. And we also open to non-e-communities for a $1,500 sanctioning fee. That's out of the 51 competitions, 48 were e-communities. There were 3 non-e-communities that have already integrated this into their community. So there is an interest outside of just our partners. People are wanting to bring this to their community, even if they don't have that benefit of that partnership. And that licensing fee covers our portal, our resource guide, and any of our kind of best practices that we can share with them as people that have helped with this for a couple years. We also provide a $250 teacher prize, and that's just a small token of our appreciation for all these work that these teachers do. Some are the traditional business teachers, but not always. Sometimes it's a computer applications teacher or a shop teacher or a agriculture teacher. This has been probably done in any way or shape you can form. Sometimes it's just a research and extension agent that took it upon themselves to bring this program to their community. So we try to give back as much as we can, because we understand that it's not in any teacher's contract to host YEC. This isn't a Acacia certified event. They're taking it upon themselves to bring this to their classroom, and we really appreciate that.
Bailee, this is Nancy. So every teacher or every facilitator gets that?
Not every, just for the winning teacher. So yeah, we provide, and that goes back to their classroom so they can use it on more material, anything that they kind of want within their classroom. And the 2 kind of required components, so I know I talk about their business ideas, the 2 things that they're required to do in all competitions across the state is an executive summary and a formal presentation. The executive summary is like a 3-page mini business plan. It kind of covers the highlights, some target markets, and identifies their product. It's pretty simple, but it's broken down enough that the students understand and can kind of share their message. They also have to do a formal presentation. So that's getting up and talking about your business and why I should go to your car detailing shop. There's lots of extra events as well. A lot of people do like a trade show, a mock boardroom, kind of like a mini Shark Tank kind of experience for the kids to pitch their idea. And like I said, there's a lot of ways to teach this and do this. It doesn't always have to be a teacher. There's other ways in which you can get this to the kids. 4-H is another great avenue to introduce the kids to entrepreneurship. There is an entrepreneurship event. So you can go to the next slide. So I could talk a lot about the benefits and all that, but the real reason is the why, the kids. they learn so many skills from doing this. Their public speaking is amazing. They learn how to solve problems in their own backyard. They start to see entrepreneurship as a viable career path, and it kind of debunks entrepreneurship. It makes them realize that they don't have to go somewhere to open that big business. They can find a way to do it in their hometown with people they know. And by having business, members be judges, students are also able to make those connections, and it makes it easier to kind of, their roots get a little bit deeper within the community, and it encourages them to come back and stay and maybe open up that coffee shop that they talked about. You can go to the next slide. And then what teachers are saying, they really just have, a lot of our teachers have grown, and their competitions have grown from the first year maybe being 8 kids. Some make it a requirement, some don't. But they really appreciate that this helps them apply real world skills. They have to identify a problem and come up with a solution that maybe no one's thought of before, or maybe someone has, but they think they can do it better. These kids just really will blow you away. You can go to the next slide. So I talked a little bit about this earlier through our entrepreneurship competition management portal. So we launched Venture Dash in July 27th of 2020. It is the best way to host an entrepreneurship competition. That's the only way to describe it. You can house all your resources there. It houses rubrics. All the judging can be done on Venture Dash. Real-time scoring, live leaderboard. You can upload all of your resources so students can get to everything all at one time. You don't have to manage incoming emails. It really is the best way to host an entrepreneurship competition, and it makes the day go so much better. We just used it probably for one of its biggest competitions last week at KEC, and it was seamless. It was really, it's beyond a benefit for hosting a YEC. It's makes the whole day go a lot smoother. So for more information, you can go to goventuredash.com or contact Amara Kniep. So go to the next slide. And then this is my contact information and Network Kansas's contact information: Facebook, Twitter, emails, websites, and then any questions. That's what I got.
Fantastic. So Bailee, I happened to be on campus last week and wish that I'd seen it sooner, but can you describe what that event looks like?
Yes. So I think last year was 2 years ago, they started doing mock boardrooms. So the students submit their executive summary beforehand. So all local winners from all 51 competitions were invited to attend KEC at K-State. At this point, we have outgrown the business building. So we went on to be in the student union. So all 51 local winners were invited, as well as an additional up to 15 wild cards submitted their applications.
For those who know K-State, it was at the Forum Theater there. And
Yep. So it was all in the student union. We had 61 students that ended up competing. They competed in 4 mock boardrooms, which was just with 2 judges. The judges judged their executive summaries beforehand and then provided them with some questions to answer that maybe were just a little unclear. The students went in, gave their kind of presentation, answered their questions, and then prior to the event, they had their executive summary judged. So that was kind of the 2-day of. Network Kansas also sponsored a trade show, which was, I can't describe it. It was just wonderful. These kids were, I went in there without any kids in there and just saw their booths, and I was like, oh my God, like they were amazing.
So those were the trifold presentations. That's what the trade show was.
Yeah. So they are, like I said, these kids, like there was parents brought in like full TV screens. It was just, and to see like the community come, I don't know how we used almost all of our chips, because that's completely like not judged by any judges. That's people driven. That's the people that walked in the trade show, got coins, and had to go pick what booths that they liked. So that's not, that's completely community driven. That's not at all judged in any way, shape, or form. So it was really up to you to draw the community in and come look at your project. So, and then at the end of the day, and at KEC, they don't do the traditional first, second, third. They judge more on entrepreneurial characteristics. So it's kind of like band is what we describe it as. You have like your ones, your twos, and your threes, kind of like your A's, B's, and C's. Because the score was so tight. It was just the only way. These kids, and they worked really hard to even get there. So everyone walked home with at least $600, I think was the yeah. So, and the Masons sponsored that event, and it was absolutely amazing. And it was the first year we've been back in person since 2019, since 2020 was canceled and last year was virtual. So there was a lot of excitement for last week, and it did not disappoint, I don't think.
I appreciate that explanation. I wish that I had gone to it because I've always had a hard time. So 1,057 kids started in this big funnel, and 60 of them got to come to K-State.
60 businesses. I think it ended up being more like 79 students. Some were complete solo businesses, some were with a partner.
Okay, that's helpful. And then hate to put you on the spot in case you don't remember, but what was the business that won the overall bonus?
We didn't share that. We just kind of shared the ones and then twos. So
interesting.
Yeah, so we don't share that information just because it's hard to kind of compare tomatoes and tomatoes. If it's more on the, do they know their business, whether it's conceptual or not? If they walked in there and said, this is my market rate, this is my value, this is my competition, and knew it, it's hard to kind of compare those kids if they both really get it. So that's kind of the approach that Chad Jackson and his team have taken to.
Bailee explained it really, really well. And we're a big fan of what K-State did, where if you have and I won't be overly respectful or disrespectful to either side when I say this, a coffee shop on Main Street versus a drone business. We see both. And sometimes the natural inclination of a judge is that, tech is sexy, and the way that he's made this change, I love when Chad said, we want to have a level playing field where the student is only competing against themselves. Wow. If they bring their idea to us, no matter the idea, if their executive summary and the way they stand in front of the judges in the mock boardrooms and answer questions, if they're judged a 1, they're a 1. And at the end of the day, if there's 10 teams that are a 1, so be it. If there's 30 teams that are a 1, so be it. But each team is only competing against themselves. And it just makes it so neat. And Leanne, unmute yourself. This is completely spontaneous, but I am going to ask you this, and I hope it's okay that I do this. And then Sarah, you follow her, and be brief. I know times of the S short here. You each had a child that have competed in this. I'd just like Leanne first, Sarah LaRoche second, to just talk for 30 seconds about what this meant to your child or you watching your child grow.
Well, the first year Sailor Ann did it, she did not want to do it. In no uncertain terms, she refused to do it. And I was the ED director, and I said, yes, you're going to do this. This is what we do. Because mom wants you to do it. It was the first year was hard. And she didn't win by any means, but she was encouraged. And she afterwards said, that wasn't so bad. I think I could do this again. She did it all 4 years of high school. She had really some wonderful experiences, and then actually decided to change her major and go to K-State for business and entrepreneurship. And that was 3 years ago. She's graduating next week, and she has so many different ideas. I've since learned that it's called, what is it? Entrepreneurial or something, it's just kind of changes their whole mindset. They see something and think, hey, I could solve that problem, or I could do this or that. And so it's a little hard to keep up with her now. But she is just really passionate about this. And she was into sports and things, but this was her thing throughout high school. And I don't know if the original, business that she had planned, if she'll actually get it off the ground or not in the same way that she initially, had it in our mind, because we've run into a few stumbling blocks of, prototypes that were more expensive than what we could come up with and things, but it's been huge. I just can't say it any better.
Thank you, Leanne. Sarah LaRoche, would you
Yes,
please?
I hopefully am on the beginning stream of Leanne's experience. My daughter is a sixth grader this year, so it was her first time participating, the first time that the county participated or the school participated. She didn't win her local event, and I encourage all of my communities to apply as a wild card slot. And so I firmly believe in practicing what you preach. And so as her mother, I strongly encouraged, AKA forced her to apply for wild card, and she qualified. So it was exactly like Leanne mentioned. She wasn't extremely thrilled to go, but it was a fantastic experience. After that first mock boardroom, she came out smiling. She had a fantastic day. At the end of YEC this year, she was a different person from the day walking in, without very much confidence in herself and the ability to speak in front of people. At the end of the day, she was a completely different person, and I'm sure she's going to continue to participate. And she was the youngest student to participate, and I was extremely proud of her. So as a parent, as an economic development, as Network Kansas, everything was a fantastic experience.
Thank you very much. Nancy, thanks for letting me ask that question.
Oh, absolutely. And I think they were important questions. I can just picture, Sarah, how important being the youngest kid in the group and learning from those big kids. That's probably ever more valuable than anything a mother can do. So, and I love Chad Jackson, the director of entrepreneurship at K-State. I love that idea of competing with yourself. Competition shuts me down, but being my best self always inspires me. And I think that's fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much. That's so exciting. And every time I'm with Network Kansas, I think they must be just a great place to work. Being such an innovative culture is inspiring. Anybody have anything else to share about what's going on in your world? There's Michael Amick.
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know, yesterday we found out that the money has dried up with the economic injury disaster loan. Very unfortunate. The whole program has really been a struggle, because some really, good businesses that should have been approved for some reason were hung up, maybe with tax reasons or whatever. So I'm making some unfortunate phone calls today, but I just want to let everyone know that that COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan, people that were asking for reconsideration or increases, unless the money was obligated by at some point yesterday, unfortunately the opportunity is over. And so we'll wait and see what Congress can, do. There's some rumors that the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, which is a grant to restaurants, is a bill in the House right now. I don't know if it'll get through the Senate, but we'll wait and see what other programming can come out of Congress to help our small businesses. So I just want to let everyone know.
Thank you, Michael. That's not good news, but it's good that we can share. And I want to share that we still have our next grant writing workshop is June 28th and 30th from 1:30 to 4:30. It costs $60. It's all online, and you sign up and pay online. And I've put the link in the chat. Is there anybody else that has something to share? All right. Well, next month, I had not planned to have a First Friday because all of our staff is at conferences, and I'm taking a bucket list trip to Alaska and I'll be gone. But I saw the opportunity, and my colleague Jan Steen gave me the idea that we would have an asynchronous video. And it's from Megan McFall. I've seen this presentation with Utah State University. And her presentation is Get Your Business on Google Search and Maps. And she makes it very, very clear and easy about how to get your business on Google Search and Maps, and makes it look like, dang it, I think I could do that. And I wish they all would do it. I don't know whether you've had that experience in traveling of Googling whether that restaurant is open and walking up to the door and finding out it's not yet today. They changed their schedule and didn't change it online. So, all right, we're going to end the call then today, and we'll see you in a couple of months. But in our thought for the day today is in honor of Star Wars Day, which occurred this week. And our quote is from Yoda: "No, try not, do not, there is no try," from Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. So thanks for joining us, and create a great Kansas Day.